Um, I feel like I'm being stripped down and prepared for something else. Now that's maybe very personal, but I feel like the Almighty's preparing me to do something big.
Nobody was supposed to see this version of Christ. Not in your lifetime. Not ever. For 1700 years, there has existed a portrait of Jesus so fundamentally different from anything the Western Church allowed its congregations to read that the men who controlled the institution spent centuries making sure every copy was tracked down and destroyed. They voted to ban the texts that contained it. They ordered the manuscripts burned. They labeled the writings too dangerous for ordinary believers. And for over 1,000 years, it worked. Billions of people lived and died without ever encountering the original description of who Jesus actually was, according to the people who knew him first. But they didn't get every copy. In cliff face monasteries carved into the mountains of northern Ethiopia, monks kept writing. They kept copying. Generation after generation, century after century, in dim stone rooms, lit by oil lamps mixing ink from minerals and plants, shaping every character of an ancient script with hands that cramped and eyes that eventually failed. They did it because they believed what they were preserving was sacred, not forbidden, not dangerous, sacred. And for 1,500 years, while the rest of Christianity was handed a softer, simpler, more manageable version, those monks guarded the original. Now, the filmmaker who already proved once that he would tell the unfiltered version of this story, regardless of what it cost him, has read what they preserved. He's spending $250 million to put it on IMAX screens. And what Mel Gibson is building right now inside Cinecittà Studios in Rome is a version of Jesus Christ that most of the Western world has never been told existed. You have to start in 2004 because without what happened then, none of what's coming next makes any sense. Mel Gibson directed a film that every studio in Hollywood refused to finance. He put up his own money. He mortgaged his own future on it. He shot the entire thing in Aramaic, Latin, and Hebrew. Dead languages nobody had spoken in that context for 2,000 years. No commercial softening, no theological compromise, no mercy for audiences who wanted something comfortable. The Passion of the Christ depicted the final 12 hours of Jesus' life with a physical intensity that left theaters shaken. The scourging, the crown of thorns, the slow collapsing march to Calvary, critics called it excessive. Audiences called it the most unflinching portrayal of Christ's suffering ever committed to film. It earned over $612 million worldwide on a $30 million budget. It became the highest grossing R-rated film in American history, a record it held for nearly 2 decades. It remains the highest grossing independent film ever made. The people who said it would ruin Gibson were wrong. The people who said audiences didn't want unfiltered religious cinema were spectacularly wrong. But Gibson never claimed the story was complete. From the very beginning, he said publicly that The Passion only told half the narrative. It ended at the tomb. What happened after that? What the oldest Christian texts say occurred across every realm of existence, not just inside a garden outside Jerusalem. That story had never been told. Not by any filmmaker, not in any medium, not once in the history of cinema. He spent the next 2 decades trying to figure out how to tell it. And what he found in those years of research led him to manuscripts that most Western Christians have never been told exist. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Gibson revealed he had been working from 2 scripts. One was traditional, structured, close to what audiences would expect. The other, in his exact words, was like an acid trip. He described a journey through multiple realms, through hell, through angelic hierarchies, through dimensions of reality that don't operate on human time. He said the film had to begin with the fall of the angels. You're in another place, he told Rogan. You're in another realm. You need to go to hell. You need to go to Sheol. He said the story spans from the fall of the angels to the death of the last apostle, not a 3-day window, a cosmic arc. Most people heard that interview and assumed Gibson was being theatrical. He wasn't. He was describing almost word for word what a set of ancient texts have